Today I'm going to try and finish installing the bathroom walls, which includes placing sheetrock all by myself. And yes, you guessed it right, it's going to be pretty awful. Okay, let's backtrack a few hours to the beginning of this. So the first step was to install the vent in the bathroom. So, I mean, this shouldn't be too difficult. It's just a matter of like punching a hole through the sheathing that's above the bathroom directly, making a hole big enough that's gonna fit that, that whole vent, and then obviously try and place it completely centered in the bathroom so that it looks good. So as always, because I'm working by myself, I always have to come up with some tricks to kind of make my life easier. So the bottom of the vent needs to be actually flush with the finished material, which is going to be the sheetrock. So that's why you see me, I just attached a little bit of something right underneath it, but adding the thickness of the finished material. So now I know that it's placed exactly where it should be. I check that it's level, and I can actually fasten it into my joist. Obviously, I did not read instructions, so here I was realizing that I was supposed to install this bracket between two ceiling joists, and it was too late to do it. You could not slide it in at this point, so I had to remove the bathroom fan just so that I may place those brackets. So again, I mean, if I had read the instruction, took my time, probably would have been easier, and just, probably wouldn't have wasted 15 minutes, but no big deal. That's absolutely fixable. The bracket is just so that it's stabilized between two joists, and obviously this being a fan that's going to move a lot, you want it to be very sturdy, and you don't want it to be rattling all over the place. Another thing I almost forgot to do because I didn't read the instruction is that there were those extra screws which I didn't know what to do with, and actually you're supposed to install it at the bracket to prevent them from sliding, and there's one on each side. The next step was to wire the bathroom fan, and that should be pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of making the connection between the wire that I already had placed here between the bathroom joist and the actual connection going into the bathroom fan. I mean, it really comes with like those little connection things, so you literally just have to slide your wires in there, and then all those connections get put back into the bathroom fan so they're not exposed. The only thing I wasn't sure of is that I don't think that I needed some sort of conduit or anything like that. I'm pretty sure I could have put some sort of clamp there, but again, that didn't come with the bathroom fan, and I didn't have any, so I think it's going to be okay. The last step of the installation is to connect the bathroom fan to the vent that's already installed on the outside wall, and that's just done with getting a 4-inch foil duct as well as some clamp. Obviously I had to cut a little bit of that sheathing that was in the way to run my duct. But then it's as easy as clamping it on one side and then on the other. The only challenge with clamping it on the outside is that whatever duct I have that's sticking out up there above my bathroom, it just didn't fit. It's like both sides are exactly 4 inches, so you cannot put one over the other. That's when having a crimping tool, as you're seeing, comes really handy, because I'm making that one actually smaller, so then the 4-inch foil duct can go right over it and be clamped into place. So moving on to the bathroom ceiling sheetrock installation, and as you can see on that edge, I have nothing that I will be able to screw the sheetrock to.
So what I did is I cut those little triangles.
These triangles actually match the exact slope of my rafters, and so they were able to hug my rafters and allow me to connect them to the first joist that was placed in the bathroom ceiling, and that will give me a great surface to connect my sheetrock to. I even decided to add some leftover furring strips right at the edge, as close as I could get it, so that I would have the best support possible for the sheetrock. So I was now getting really close to trying and install my first piece of sheetrock on the ceiling. So all I could think of is, well, I need to come up with some sort of method that's going to allow me to install a full 4x8 sheet of drywall all by myself.
Alright, sheetrock. Ça va pas être facile.
The bathroom is not quite 8 foot long, so I needed, I think, to strip maybe, half an inch or a quarter of an inch off of that sheet of drywall. But clearly the most important thing was to exactly measure where the bathroom fan was located and make that hole precisely on the sheet of drywall. I really found that using an oscillating tool was the best tool for doing a cut like that. It really goes through it like it's butter.
sheetrock on the ceiling by myself. Wish me luck. I think there's gonna be a lot of swearing and stuff falling on the ground. Oh la 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 la!
Just so you know, a 4x8 sheet of drywall like this one is 52 pounds or 23 kilograms.
No, 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 no! No! About to get my head cut. Whoa, putain! Whoa! All right, I got it on two. All right, this was not a good idea. Ah! Ah là là! No, I'm good to redo the cut. Putain, quelle perte de temps. Je te jure. Ah là là! All right, I guess let's try again. Second try. I think that if I break another one, I'm probably gonna give up and get some help. Allez! Hey, it's up there. It's not perfect, but with my little system, it's completely safe and held in place. So,
Well, that was intense, but now was the easy part of just screwing all that drywall into place. So I'm using your like typical drywall screws, and I'm pretty sure that I'm placing all the screws at 8 inches on center also, and then I placed a little strip that was missing on the ceiling, but that was so much easier.
Have you ever wondered how much I have spent so far on this cabin, money-wise and time-wise? If you would like to know, I do send a monthly newsletter out with a budget breakdown and the number of hours I have spent on this cabin project. Just go to my website, enter your email, you will receive the free cabin plans, but you will also automatically be added to my emailing list, and you will start receiving the newsletter. You're welcome.
Now that I was done with the ceiling drywall, I could go back and actually finish my shower with the GoBoard. One thing to keep in mind is that the manufacturer wants you to leave an 1/8 of an inch spacing between bond. That's why you saw me use just like a typical, I don't know, 3-inch nails. I believe they're an 1/8 of an inch in thickness. Then was, you know, the same game of doing the right openings at the right spot. For the shower, I just have one where the, you know, the valve is going to be, and then another round one where the spout for the shower head is going to stick out. Working with GoBoard for the first time was truly a pleasure. I mean, this stuff is so light. It makes it so much easier to work with than backer bond, you know, or cement bond. So you really, I mean, as long as you take your time to take the measurements, make your cuts where they need to be, it's really just like as easy as it sounds. The last step is to install the sealant between the bonds and wherever I put all my fasteners. And so that's a matter of like putting a lot of it at the connection between two bonds, and then you kind of like spackle it into place. You have to do the exact same things in the corner, which is why using a special corner tool is really recommended, because that will allow you to get in there and install a decent amount in the corners. And you also spackle the locations of all your screws, and then that's pretty much it. That's all you have to do, and it's ready to be tiled. But before tiling, still gotta finish the sheetrock in the whole bathroom. So I'm using this little tool to kind of help me prop the sheet of drywall up so that they will be, you know, touching the ceiling. Also, I mean, I really did some like custom cutting because I really wanted everything to fit as tightly as possible. I feel that it will make my life a lot easier when I have to finish everything. The rest of the installation is pretty repetitive, so let's time-lapse through it. So there you have it. The bathroom was completely covered in sheetrock. I mean, it felt amazing finishing the step, even though the following step, which is to actually finish the sheetrock, felt definitely scary as I'd never done anything like that. But you know, this cabin project is all about learning new skills, so I figured that I would give it a shot. The first step was to make sure that all my drywall screws were set properly, so if you can actually hear a ding when you're going over it with the spackle, that means that it's obviously not deep enough, so you have to really verify that they're all good. Otherwise, it's going to be almost impossible to finish them properly. I'm going to be using premix all-purpose joint compound as well as drywall tape, a 6-inch knife, and this little tub here to hold the joint compound. So the first step was to really go back and mix it, because as much as it's already pre-mixed, it's really not that great. So I think I'd read somewhere that it was preferable to mix it additionally yourself. As a preface, please keep in mind that I am not an expert at this. Actually, quite the opposite. I've never done drywall ever. So absolutely, watch this for entertainment purposes only. Do not think that this is kind of a, masterclass at drywalling, because it simply isn't. I've watched as many videos as I could on the subject, but let me tell you something. When you watch the pros do it, they make it look a lot easier than it actually is, because when you get done watching their YouTube videos, you actually think of yourself as a potential drywalling expert. But let me tell you this, once you hold that knife full of joint compound, you will realize immediately that you know absolutely nothing, and that this is actually a craft that probably takes years to master, and that you're simply not going to be able to just wing it. Alright, so now that we got some realistic expectations set, well, let me tell you a little bit about my experience finishing drywall for the first time. As you've seen so far, the first step is to work with the 6-inch knife and apply some compound, joint compound, at every corner intersection of pieces of drywall, and then applying the tape into that corner or that joint, and then squeezing out the joint compound out of it. That's kind of, in essence, the philosophy of it, which is, again, not that difficult when you say it that way. It's just a lot more challenging to actually get it done. After you let it fully dry, that's when you move on to the 12-inch knife, and that's when stuff is becoming real interesting. The idea now is to build up that seam and, add some joint compound, and then feathering it from both sides and practically creating this seamless layer of joint compound between the two pieces of drywall. And obviously, this really is simply not how it's gonna go.
Oh là là, mais c'est quoi ce bordel?
The problem with feathering is that you need to do it in one constant motion all the way from top to bottom, but the issue is that you always end up with like some sort of marks, or you're dragging something with you with the knife and leaving imperfection.
Oh là là, mais ça me vénère! Pourquoi ça fait ça? C'est pas gagné. C'est pas gagné.
Moving on to the corners, you're going to actually do it with a smaller knife, I mean a 6-inch or a 4-inch, and apply compound all over in the corner. And then you can use the corner tool to actually get that done in the best fashion.
Oh, that's not bad at all. Ha! That's pretty good. I don't know if you can tell, but there's no way that I would get a clean corner like this just with this knife. Whoa! All right. Man, this is like the first time that I'm finally getting something that's halfway decent.
After that, I did the exact same thing everywhere else in the cabin. Obviously, working on the ceiling was quite difficult, as you have to work overhead, which complexified the task pretty significantly. And I did everything I could to do that second coat as clean as possible, but you'll see that this came with a few challenges.
Okay, so everything has dried up, and I wanted to show you that it was far from being perfect. Especially, you see the ceiling here has a lot of imperfection, and I did try my best, but I don't know how much you will be able to tell. But yeah, there's definitely a bunch of imperfection. And same here at the corner, you'll see that there's a little ridge here that I just decided to leave alone and that I would sand. And this is also not perfect. So there's definitely a lot going on. All right, so here's what I got. Just a basic pole sander. and some sanding paper. So I got 100 and 220. So I don't know. We'll see.
Because I used a lot of joint compound, I decided to start with the 100 grit, which I knew would help sand a lot faster. And then I would move to the 220 later on. For the corners, I decided that using those sanding sponges would actually work a lot better than the sanding pole. And let me tell you that doing all this sanding is a crazy workout. I mean, obviously you want to wear all the correct protection because this is not the kind of stuff you want to breathe in for hours on end. Look, I'm not lying when I'm going to tell you that you would get covered in that stuff. I mean, it was everywhere.
Okay, so I'm done with the sanding. I did everything with the 100 grit, and honestly, I'm pretty happy with the result. It really smoothed out everything a lot. But obviously, I mean, you can tell that. That's how you can tell who's a pro and who's not. I've been sanding like crazy. I mean, look at my clothes. I'm completely covered. And honestly, I mean, I've been sanding for like 2 hours. This was a lot of work, and I know I'm supposed to put a final coat, but I don't know, I'm kind of lazy. Just the idea of putting more mud on this to then sand it again is just literally driving me nuts. So I think I'm gonna just go back with the 220 and go do another pass with the 220, which would be a lot faster now, and kind of see what kind of results I get.
So I sanded everything again with the 220, a quick pass, and then did a big cleanup to remove all that dust. And to finish the cleanup process, you can grab a sponge and, lightly wet it, and you can go over all the walls everywhere, and that will remove all the dust that you still have everywhere on the wall. So unfortunately for me, after that cleanup with the water, that's when I realized that there were a lot of imperfections still present, kind of like bubble-like foam, mostly everywhere. And that's when I realized that I had no choice and that I absolutely needed to do a final coat. Unfortunately, I really didn't want to, but I had no choice if I want this to look decent. For the final coat, you use this product, which is the topping, and you can see that it has a complete different consistency from the all-purpose. And so I'm not going to bore you with the detail, but I did a final coat everywhere. I mean, obviously, you don't have to go as thick. You really add as little as possible, and then sand it everything again with the 220 to get to my final result.
So I just got done sanding and cleaning everything for the final layer, and I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but this is much, much smoother than what I had with, the all-purpose mud. And I got rid of all those little dimples that I had, and it looks really neat now. I did a lot of sanding again, and I'm really happy with the result.
So look, the moral of the story for this installation and what I've learned doing drywall is that even if you've never done it, even if you're a complete rookie at this, it's possible. You're just going to install a lot more mud than what you need. So that means you're going to sand a lot more, but you can still achieve a decent result. It's just going to take you maybe 10 times more than what a pro would do, but you can still do it. So now maybe you understand why I didn't put sheetrock anywhere else in this cabin. While this was fine to spend this much time on one bathroom, I would have completely lost it if I had to do sheetrock in this whole cabin. So the last thing I wanted to do was to put 2 layers of primer to kind of finish everything up before I move on to tiling this bathroom. So click on the link on the screen that will take you to the next episode where I will attempt for the first time in my life to tile a shower floor. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.